What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video. I've definitely got something special to show off and talk to you guys about today. Recently, I finally was able to pick up a plush that I've been wanting to add to the collection for a very long time. Now, it certainly wasn't a plush that I was going out of my way to find and all that, but thankfully the opportunity finally came. I never knew that if this was going to be something that I would be adding into my collection, but you know, things just worked out the way that they did. As you can tell right here, I've still got the package. It is unopened, all that wonderful stuff. Obviously, I did take off the labeling just because I do not want to put my address along with the seller's address on blast on the internet. But today we're going to be opening up this box and seeing what exactly is this rare $750 plush, what exactly it is, what character it is, all that type of stuff. We're going to find out real soon, right after the intro. All right, so let's get right into the meat and potatoes right here. Now, this is definitely a plush that is very rare, as mentioned from before. If you are somebody that has been following Pete Dorr for a long time and is familiar with some of his videos, this is actually one of the same plushes that he has in his collection. Now, I did have a little bit of a hint going on kind of before the intro of this video, and if you know, you know. But I'll just say this, for the hardcore Pete Dorr fans, and kind of catching a little bit of a glimpse as to what I got on, you kind of already know what to expect. So literally, as you can tell, this, I haven't even opened this yet. I don't know what the condition is going to be like. I have an idea, but of course, let's open it up and find out. I gotta say, this is a nice little surprise right here. Gotta say, the seller was super awesome. Really appreciate the note. If you know who you are, you know who you are. Great stuff right here. I'm actually gonna keep that in the game room because why not? Now, let's open him up. So, you already saw a little bit of the note right there. So, that's kind of a little bit of a dead giveaway as to what I purchased. But, let's open him up. Gotta say, I really appreciate the padding that he gave. But as you can tell right here, here he is. This is Klonoa. Now, as you can tell, the belt isn't necessarily in the greatest of shape, but it's not what I would consider something that I would complain about and throw a hissy fit about. Now, surprisingly, when I'm now feeling this plush right here, I'm very surprised at to how I could feel like he's got like little pellets inside or whatever, and I never would have guessed that. I would have thought he was more of a just like your regular stand of the mill plush or whatever, but clearly there's a little bit of a surprise for me right there. But overall, I gotta say, I'm really surprised at how well he is. I was very much aware of like the belt. The seller was very honest with me, told me what was going on, but super glad to add him to the collection. Now, a big thing that I should mention about this plush was that I bought another plush of him, except here's the real kicker. The other plush I bought was a fake. It wasn't authentic. And I was originally going to make a video about me unboxing that plush, but after doing a little bit of some research and kind of noticing, like once I got the plush, I noticed there were a few things that were off. I took things online just to check, just to see if there were some kind people that could let me know that, hey, you know, this isn't authentic. So now since we have the authentic plush, let me show you the inauthentic plush. Now with this plush right here, I certainly knew I was taking a risk with this, but the only reason I was able and decided to purchase this plush was because I was covered by the eBay money back guarantee, which essentially meant that if I bought an item and it wasn't authentic or wasn't as described, I could return it, I could get my money back. Funny enough, I remember this was from a seller that had negative feedback at the time. And I remember when looking at this plush, it looked like the real deal. And despite the fact that the seller did have negative feedback, along with a few other things that were a little concerning, I was willing to take the risk simply because of the eBay money back guarantee. And after all, this plush is very rare. It's not easy to come by, and usually when it is found, it's pretty pricey. Once I opened up the plush, it looked like the real deal. It was in good condition. It looked like it had some good quality characteristics to it. But then when I took a little bit of a closer look at it, there was kind of some things that kind of didn't look so right. First of all, Klonoa had 2 Pac-Mans on his hat, which I thought that was kind of questionable. I also kind of took a look at some other things too, and it was kind of one of those things where I didn't really think everything was adding up, and my gut was telling me, hey, this probably is not an authentic plush. I decided to share this plush, funny enough, on Reddit, and asked the Klonoa community, like, hey, is this plush authentic or is it fake? If it's fake, please let me know why it's fake. Funny enough, I had a few kind folks on there that let me know that, hey, this is fake. And I just immediately contacted the seller, told him I wanted to return it. It wasn't authentic, and I wanted to return it. Of course, he said, oh, it's not authentic. I never said it was authentic. But the problem with that is you can't sell inauthentic products on eBay. You just can't. So thankfully, I was able to get my money back. I wasn't burned, but I'm very thankful that I was able to meet a very kind individual that was willing to sell me an authentic Klonoa plush. He was super awesome to work with. He was also a plush collector himself, but obviously he decided to sell his Klonoa plush. As you guys can probably imagine, I'm going to make sure that this Klonoa plush has a very nice, warm welcome right here in the game room. Now, since we are talking about a very rare plush that certainly was not cheap for me to add into the collection, I wanted to make sure that I would put him somewhere, at least he's somewhat protected. I didn't want to just throw him anywhere. Besides, his belt is also very fragile, and it's not because that the seller didn't take care of him, it's just because of that's just how he was made. And as I looked around through the game room, I clearly decided after looking at where I normally keep a lot of my plushes that it just wouldn't do for some of these sections where I would keep these plushes. So for Klonoa, I decided to throw him right up here onto the shelf where I would at least know that he's not going to be smashed, he's not going to be crushed, but hey, he's got a good home, he looks good. But yeah, overall this was a super awesome experience. Super glad that I was able to add this Klonoa plush. Big shout out to the seller. You were awesome. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate the little drawing and the note that you gave me. That's super cool. I'm definitely going to be hanging on to that. But overall, this has been an awesome experience, and I am so glad to finally add this awesome plush into the collection. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.